Hello my friends, Mina Geek here. As one who has, wait a second, 1, 2, 3, 4, too many computers just for Windows XP, I recommend such a system for those that want to travel in the past and rediscover the magic of the 90s and the 2000s when it comes to computer games. A hobby that some of us might have invested our entire childhood. But even now at 30, 40 years old, we can capture something from the past. And no, it's not a midlife crisis. It could be the economic crisis instead. Given the prices we have today for everything, we might as well jump over current inflation and land in the 2000s. The real budget gaming is on Windows XP, because you can install Windows XP on anything basically, from Pentium 2 to i7 Ivy Bridge, from 64 MB of RAM to 8 GB of RAM, from any integrated video card from 100 years ago to the GTX 900 series, XP will work on those components. Of course, you're going to choose the components based on the games you want to play, and it's not recommended to use the latest components if all you want is to play games from the early 2000s. You will have all sorts of compatibility problems. This won't work, the other thing will kick you in the annual junk you have at home might be very good for Windows XP, as long as it's not newer than 2012-2013. If not, for $70 you can build a custom computer or even find one already assembled and functional. Install Windows XP and have fun and be nostalgic, enjoying the good life. Therefore, having a Windows XP computer is cheap and easy, supposing you're passionate about games from the 90s and 2000s, of course, otherwise what are we even doing here? Also, whether we're talking about socket A, socket 478, 775, AM2 or others, Windows XP is an extremely stable operating system. You won't have many problems with it unless you do some very wrong things. Install 10 drivers for each component, use executables with viruses, deleting registries for the laughs and because you can. Speaking of games, there are many that you can't play on Windows 10 or 11 for various reasons. First of all, you can't find them digitally, so you need the original CDs, and good luck installing those games on modern systems. Some won't work. Among these are Toka 3. This only works on Windows XP because it has the wonderful Star Force protection system, meaning if you install it on Vista 7, 10 or whatever, the operating system might not boot. And I'm not joking, this happened to me in Windows Vista. I had to boot into safe mode and delete the Star Force install. Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 2 is not available in digital format. And anyway, it doesn't work on Windows 10 unless you create a file where you need to add some specific lines of text. The Sims 2 is again not available digitally, so we only have the disc versions. But on Windows 10 it doesn't work, at least the deluxe version that I have. You need to do some hacks in order to make it work. Need for Speed Underground, Underground 2, Pro Street don't work on Windows 10 unless you do certain shenanigans. However, these games work on some modern systems, on other systems they don't. Porsche 2000, good luck with that. It doesn't even work on some Windows XP computers, let alone 10 or 11. Spider-Man 2002 doesn't work on Windows 10. I did not test this, but I found the information on the internet, so it must be true. These are just a few examples. There are other games that have protection systems from the past that won't work properly, or at all. Then we have classic games that you can find digitally on GOG or Steam for example, or other platforms, but they have various issues. Some of them are almost unplayable, others are decent. Dungeon Siege 2 has a big problem on Windows 10. The cursor doesn't appear, you have to run the game in window mode, which is horrible. Besides that, the game stutters a lot. Recently in the Steam version they added the option to run the game directly in window mode, but it looks weird and I don't like it. Actually, Dungeon Siege 2 is the game that got me back into older computers. A few years ago I wanted to play the game and I had a cursor issue. After an hour of hard tears and sweat, I decided to call it quits. Open the browser, search for Radeon 9700 Pro price. I did not find the Radeon 9700 Pro to buy, but I found an Athlon XP. Then a GeForce 4MX, and the rest is history. Max Payne has issues with systems with the Ryzen 3000 series. You have to edit a file, it's not such a big problem, but like this one right here are other games where you have to struggle a bit to make them work. Someone recently told me they had issues with Max Payne on the Ryzen 5800 X3D. The classic Mafia works okay, but if you buy it digitally it's missing the original music, and the original music is really the cherry on top for this game. Otherwise, while driving, and you're going to do a lot of driving in this game, you won't listen to any music, just the car engine. It's weird. Also, the licensed music from Vice City has been removed from the Steam version. And afterwards, Rockstar decided to remove the game in its entirety. Thanks, mate. In quite a few games, I've noticed mini stutters, freezes, in Rome Total War when you move the camera, in Mafia when you move the camera, in Dungeon Siege 2 when the camera moves. It might be something related to V-Sync, FreeSync, G-Sync, I don't know sync, I haven't figured it out. Now, if you like tinkering with games to make them work, good for you. Have fun and don't mind me. The next argument is more refined, but for some of us who are more particular, it matters. I'll give just 2 examples right now, but surely there are others like them. In Far Cry on Windows 10, the water doesn't reflect the mountains, the trees and whatever else it may reflect, so the water looks much worse on 10 than on XP. Take a look here. This is 2004. This is 2024. However, there are some fixes for this, but I don't like fixes because sometimes fixes for one area of the game turn into problems for another area. You simply can't have your cake and eat it too. Then we have games that support a feature called Table Fog, and the latest cards that support it are the GeForce FX video cards. This is the list of games, and well, it's not such a big deal, but maybe the only game you want to play is Thief 2, and if you're playing it, maybe you want to have the most original experience. This is how Thief looks with Table Fog on, and this is how it looks with Table Fog off. Quite a big difference, especially for a stealth-based game, because fog should be an important element. I don't know if fog has any bearing on the gameplay in Thief. Does it? Sound is a very important component of a game, and somewhat the atmosphere is largely given by the sound and the music. Sound can greatly influence how you perceive a game, so you'd want to have the best sound out there, right? But more importantly, you'd want the original sound, and that's how we get to Creative Sound Cards and EAX, Environmental Audio Extensions. This is a list of games I have that support EAX, and if you have a creative card, the sound will be better in these games, in theory. Oh, and if you're asking why Windows XP for creative sound cards, it's because starting with Windows Vista and onwards, there's no support for EAX. It's gone, dead and buried. And now we get to something that's not necessarily about Windows XP versus Windows 10, but more about new computers versus old computers. The problem is this: a lot of old games don't support widescreen resolutions. So on your modern computer you have to choose between seeing black bars on the side or stretching the image. Something no one, never ever in this life should be subjected to, and I'm not even exaggerating. Most games before 2004 don't support widescreen resolutions, so you will have black bars on the sides. Also, if those games support 1600 by 1200 like Need for Speed Porsche, Doom 3 or others, and you have a 1080p display, the maximum resolution you can use in those games is 1280 by 1024, and you don't want that resolution inside 1920 by 1080 pixels. LCDs look good only if you use their native resolution, but there are many classic games that support maximum resolutions such as 800 by 600 Diablo 2, 1024 by 768 Dungeon Siege, 1280 by 1024 Need for Speed Underground, and to play them at those resolutions on an LCD you have to accept some visual compromises. Now, what I've said until now are some general things. Everything depends on each person's situation. You don't necessarily have to dance with the dinosaurs from the past to enjoy those games. But if you want the most exquisite experience, you must have a CRT connected to a video card that has VGA output. It is what it is. Since we've talked about the past and dinosaurs, after all, if you want to escape, and escape is one of the reasons why many of us appreciate games of any kind and from any period, and leaving all aside, you want to forget the present, the real life, and you want to reach another world. If you want to see another perspective on reality, maybe you need a separate computer, different from your modern PC where you work your daily job, argue with people on the internet or Discord, pay bills, do the things you'd rather escape from. And if so, the computer can be a Windows XP one. No internet, no Discord, no YouTube, a time capsule, A DeLorean that each and every one of you can have in your homes and that can take you back in time at any moment. Now, nothing is perfect in this world. There are also disadvantages to everything I said above. You need an extra computer and display, and although they are cheap, maybe you don't have the required room. Maybe you don't have time to take care of another computer because yes, those components are old, they will break, you might have compatibility issues, you might do some fixes, and others. So, such a system might need some time investment. Also, there's the issue with the extra display. If you want a CRT, you must be okay with the size and weight. Or that it might blow up. It doesn't blow up, it's a myth, but it can break quickly. I had 2 high-end CRTs that broke in 1 year. Maybe you want an older LCD, 4x3 or 5x4 aspect ratio. It might have some defects, or it might break after using it for 1 month. You want games on CD. You have to search for them. Some are too expensive, unfortunately. Or if you buy a game, you might receive a scratched CD, and that was it. Maybe you already have most of the classic games that you want to play on Steam. If so, Windows XP is not for you, because Steam doesn't work on XP. Now, if you have some space and a bit of extra time, an old computer with Windows XP can be the best solution for experiencing those classic games from the past. But like everything in life, this will depend on each and any one of us. We are not here to legislate fun, to tell others how to enjoy games, and to slap them on their wrist if they don't prefer the same games as us. Because after all we want is to have fun, which is fine, but some of us want to be nostalgic also.